Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. There are a few laws of magic speculated to be introduced into Total War Warhammer 3, most of them tied to specific races or factions. Yesterday we covered the Kislevite Law of Ice, but there are, as expected, a few more. Of course, now we'll be looking towards the Chaos Laws of Magic, and we'll be going over my personal favourite law of magic, that of the Law of Slaanesh. Slaanesh is commonly known as the Lord of Excess and the Prince of Pleasure, and the spells associated with his perverse delights reflect his sick passions. These spells prey upon the mind, creating false sensations and driving victims to commit unspeakable deeds. His unique spell law is also known as the Law of Pain and Pleasure, and as can be imagined, these spells are only accessible to demons and mortals who worship Slaanesh as their prime deity. In 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles, the Law of Slaanesh contains 7 spells, which we will now go over and see how they could be implemented into Total War Warhammer. First we have Lash of Slaanesh. Lash of Slaanesh is a direct damage spell with a range of 24 inches. Extend a straight line 24 inches in length within the caster's forward arc, and directly from its base. Any model whose base falls under the line, determined as for a bouncing cannonball, suffers a strength 3 hit with the armor-piercing special rule. Okay, so at the beginning you might think that this is more like a magic missile, and essentially it kinda is, but more represented in the style of that of a beam heading forward. Instead of being able to miss anything in its path, it's more like a very thin type of breath weapon, where anything caught in its path would take damage. Now strength 3 means that it wasn't very powerful, but the idea of this is that anything that was caught would be able to take some damage, however minor that may be. Next we have Acquiescence. Acquiescence is a hex spell with a range of 24 inches. The target unit has the Always Strikes Last and Random Movement special rules until the start of the caster's next magic phase. So what this did on the tabletop is make attacks slower and force enemies to make random movement. Given the mechanics already in place in Total War Warhammer, I'm assuming that the spell would be implemented as follows. This would be treated as a generic hex spell. Rather than introducing random movement, it could either A. slow the movement down of enemies and also weaken their attack values, or it could slow them down once again, but also send them into a frenzy. That's more random movement than anything else. Next we have Purveyne of Slaanesh. Purveyne of Slaanesh is a direct damage spell with a range of 24 inches. That targets a single enemy model, even a character in a unit. If successfully cast, the target must pass a leadership test or suffer a wound with no armor saves allowed. This is easy enough to translate into Total War Warhammer. It's a single target spell, good versus characters and monsters, but horrible against anything with more than one entity. The next spell is Hysterical Frenzy. Hysterical Frenzy can be cast on any unit, friend or foe, within 24 inches. If cast on a friendly unit, Hysterical Frenzy is a augment spell. If cast on an enemy unit, it is a hex spell instead. The benefit of the spell is frenzy, however, this is something that we need to go about here. The spell itself doesn't really make a lot of sense. It does some damage too, but even then, it's one of those things where laws of magic introduced for Total War Warhammer normally have 6 spells, and of course this law of magic has 7, so if anything, I think we found the spell that would likely get removed. We've already seen this type of thing happen with other laws of magic. The next spell is Slicing Shards. Slicing Shards is a magic missile with a range of 24 inches that inflicts d6 strength 4 hits with the armor-piercing special rule. The target must then immediately pass a leadership test or suffer a further d6 strength 4 hits with the armor piercing special rule. This is a magic missile spell, however I would see it implemented in a different way. More so like a bombardment spell, something which would do its damage like all other bombardments. However, it would also taint the ground for a small period of time, so anything caught in that area would also take damage over time, which I think reflects upon the spell rather well. Next we have Phantasmagoria. Phantasmagoria is a hex spell with a range of 24 inches. Until the start of the caster's next magic phase, the target unit must roll an additional d6 whenever it takes a leadership test, discarding the lowest result. This, I believe, is easy enough to translate. It is a hex spell that reduces leadership, so it could be done on a single unit of entities, or if it's overcasted in a small area of effect. The last spell is that of Cacophonic Choir. Cacophonic Choir is a hex spell, and yes, there are a lot of hex spells in the lore of Slaanesh. With a range of 12 inches, the target unit takes 2d6 hits that wound on a 4+, with no armor saves allowed. If at least one unsaved wound is caused, the target unit gains the Always Strikes Last special rule and random movement. Again, random movement and Always Strikes Last appear in this list. However, I see this being implemented in a different way, as of course this is the last spell of this lore of magic. This wouldn't be a single target spell, but rather more in the line of an area of effect, with a decent sized area of effect at that. All enemy units caught under that would be dealt some damage, slowly but efficiently, with anything that was also caught under that area suffering a debuff for a certain period of time, maybe around 5 seconds to 10 seconds or so, which would continue to refresh if still within that area. This would slow down their movement speed and possibly their attack damage values too. I think something like that would work rather well in regards to the whole lore of magic. Of course, these are just my personal opinions, and my opinions are that mostly of a tabletop player before Total War player. I think the translations would work well, but what do you think, and how would you see these spells implemented? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.